Hey, what's good? I watched this live, so it's not my first time watching this debacle happen, but I thought it'd be fun to see what ChatGPT thought. So let's get right into it. I'm going to keep working on some drawings for this animation. Before we get into it, remember to go to coconutjustice.com to get you some clothes I think would look good on you. Let's go. All right. I let AI break down Zelensky, the Trump-Zelensky White House clash. Here's what it said. Let's see.
That was a disaster. I can't think of anything more embarrassing to happen in the White House. A total disgrace. I mean, there are just
Now, I'd hoped that this video wouldn't start like that on the negative because it's setting us up for something, right? I wish that it would have just been like, so look, uh, something happened in the White House, and we're gonna try to figure it out, right? Because you can see this. Whoever watched this, we have that many opinions, we have that many breakdowns. So let's see what it is. But again, I had hoped that it didn't start negatively.
no other words for it, so I'll get right to the point.
Okay.
Today I'm going to feed the full transcript of Trump and Zelensky's meeting into ChatGPT. I'll have it analyze the entire thing and figure
I'm gonna admit something to you guys. Get in here. I just figured it out. I figured out how to make everything make sense. Taxes are the membership dues or the membership fees for for whatever this is that we think is government right now. Oh my goodness. We have the best TV happening. And all it costs us is what, 33% of our paycheck. And I laugh, if not to cry. Imagine this happening at your work. Imagine the president, the vice president of your work sitting at whether it be a office meeting or a client meeting or even just at lunch. Imagine if this had happened in a school, in a bus, in a courtroom. Remember that dude that jumped over the judge's desk? Anyway, imagine that. This is what we look like in the streets. However you break it down. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This is me coming at it from what I see. Whoever's at fault, all of this, these gentlemen are supposed to be adults. They're supposed to be the leaders. And look at what our leaders got us in the streets looking like.
exactly what it was that set Trump and Vance off. I mean, how many times would Zelensky have to say thank you to satisfy them? What would ChatGPT have done if it were in Zelensky's shoes to turn that meeting around? And how would it describe the entire event? And whether Ukraine survives without US support or not? And as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe while you're watching because it helps more people to find this video and lets me keep on making.
And I know that I'm asking you guys to like, share, subscribe and stuff, but that's hilarious, right? The world is falling apart, but remember to use cocoa butter. I don't know. Let's go.
New ones every single week. All right, thanks so much, and now let's get into the chat. Now ChatGPT should gather all the info first, and I'll ask the first question. So I'm uploading the transcript of the meeting and asking it to be clear, straightforward, unbiased, and as always, have its take on anything that I ask. And the first question for it today, I genuinely don't really get exactly what triggered Trump and Vance. I mean, at what point did they decide Zelensky was being disrespectful to the American people? Was it something he said, or was it an action? I just wanted to go through the whole conversation and figure out exactly when things began to fall apart. And here's the answer.
Right when Vance,
Trump
right
and
when
Vance
JD
went into
said
this
some
meeting
dumb
already
shit.
against Zelensky, no matter how neutral he was going to be, even if they
Yeah.
weren't planning to outright berate him. The tone was always going to be at least passive-aggressive. They were set on framing him as ungrateful, and when he refused to play along, they escalated. The first trigger came when Zelensky challenged Vance's claim that diplomacy was the path to peace. He pointed out that Ukraine had signed agreements and ceasefires, yet Putin still broke them. Instead of addressing that, Vance doubled down, accusing Zelensky of being disrespectful for saying it in front of the media. But at no point
You know, JD. Oh, okay. Let me break it down like this. So I was dating this girl, and we had gone out, and we were standing right next to, I can't remember his name, but he used to be on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll think of his name, the big Latino that used to be the tight end. But he was there. He was there with a bunch of people that were obviously in jujitsu and cage fighting. It's obviously in that. Now, I'm not bad with the Dukes, but not against UFC. Not against Rodriguez, something Rodriguez maybe. Anyway, if you spend way more time choking people out than I do, we good. I'm not in it like that. So, oh boy, kept bumping into my girlfriend, and finally she turned around and she got into it with him. So now I stand up because, you're not just going to talk crazy to my girl like that. Nah, ain't no way. And then I saw those cauliflower ears. I tell you that to explain this point. To me, Zelensky and Trump were out at the bar having a good time. And then Trump's girlfriend showed up and kept getting bumped into by Zelensky. Started talking trash, and now Trump is in too deep because he knows that you guys like to see flesh. You guys want to see the lions eating the Christians. Everything was cool until this little bitch showed up and started talking. It's not your place. You have two world leaders talking. And I'm going to point out, it's the ChatGPT is probably going to point out this fact too, but I'm going to show you exactly the point where he needed to shut the fuck up. But I think he stepped up and he said something because, I'm noticing that Trump is out here doing his thing, and he's got you guys convinced that he's that dude and that he's going to make all the moves and everything. He's taking your attention. Meanwhile, JD Vance is talking to leaders of the free world. You got Elon running around rampant, doing all kinds of all kinds of checks and all kinds of efficiencies and shit like that, breaking things. The frustrating thing about this whole thing is everyone in office and everyone who has had these jobs has done those jobs for a certain reason, and it's those reasons why those people are good at those jobs. We need to focus on making things more efficient for those people, but you can't just go running around because you say so. I thought we were a land of laws. I have no problem going in there and looking at things, especially like Silicon Valley is full of a lot of very intelligent Americans. You can leverage all of those Americans to go here and figure out how to make things way more efficient. But no, you guys want to keep all the money. You guys want Elon to be flipping rockets in the sky. Meanwhile, the shit is falling apart. Nobody's going to have a job. Nobody's going to have a job. And all you guys are doing is cutting and slashing and doing all kinds of stuff. Just let this shit break. Let it break then. Fuck it. Let's go. Because you guys like TV presidents. You guys like this shit. You guys like all the dramatics and all that. Boy. Let's see if democracy holds, because you guys are treading on thin ice. You are pissing everybody off, and not for anything, dude, but it's very, very strange. Maybe he doesn't want to team up with Russia, but he sure does admire Russia. Maybe instead of just the one, maybe he just wants to be a part of that team. Big mouth, selfish leaders. What are you guys doing? What are you guys buying into?
Zelensky show any kind of disrespect toward the American people. He was challenging bad arguments, not dismissing U.S. support. The next flashpoint was Vance's claim that Ukraine was forcing conscripts to the front lines. Zelensky fired back with, "Have you ever been to Ukraine?" When Vance admitted he hadn't and instead
You remember when you guys got on Kamala's ass? She was trying to fix the border and she hadn't been there. I'm not saying that you don't have a case. Like, how are you going to be in charge of something you never been there? We got to start holding everybody to the same standard. What are you guys doing? You guys want to make things efficient. You guys want to whatever the hell it is that you guys keep talking about. You guys keep wanting to do that, but you keep you're not holding these people to the same standard.
Watching the stories, Zelensky called him out, then come and see it for yourself. That's when Vance pivoted to accusing Ukraine of propaganda tours, shifting the argument away from
that is that bitch ass move that we've been pointing out. That is the bitch ass move. At what point is changing the subject like, don't try to litigate it, don't try to litigate it in front of the American media. No, bitch, he wasn't. He was there to sign a deal so he could protect his fucking people. This was a setup. I can't believe you guys, boy. I'm not saying you don't have a point with all these knucklehead lefties that are doing weird things. From what I understand, there's a lot of things that they're spending money on that might need to be revised. But that's nothing close to what the hell is happening here. We have to optimize how we spend money. Yes, I don't want to, if this is real, I don't want to spend money on any of these ridiculous things that the people on the right are talking about, like studying homosexual pandas with like honey and whatever the leather suits, whatever the hell it is that you guys are talking about. I'm not trying to spend money that way either, but this is bonkers.
Facts. Then Zelensky said something that truly set Trump off. He warned that even though Americans don't feel the war now, they will in the future. Trump hates being told what the future holds, especially by someone he sees as beneath him. He snapped, "Don't tell us what we're going to feel." From that moment, the discussion wasn't about Ukraine, it was about control. Trump and Vance spent the rest.
Right. And this is where the boyfriend felt a little, he felt like his lady came in too hot. And now he's got to come off a little bit harder than his lady. You got Big Mouth who put his opinion where it doesn't need to be. And then you got this guy, the guy who needs to have his ego stroked. He needs to be the most powerful one, because otherwise you guys are going to say, whoever the hell it is, whatever side it is, whatever part of the media is going to say, well, look at that. J.D. Vance really did Trump, and whatever else dumb shit you guys are going to say. And now Trump needs to be the man in charge. So now his little doo-doo ass is going to be up there just talking stupid shit. And then he escalates, and now he's trying to emasculate this guy who doesn't have time. And then later on, this dum-dum that says, well, why aren't you wearing a suit? Bitch, I'm in a war. I don't have time for this silly shit. I came here to sign this deal, and I can go back and finish. Let's go.
Meeting trying to humiliate Zelensky. Trump mocked him. You don't have the cards. He belittled him. Your people are dying. Vance piled on with, have you said thank you once this entire meeting? This wasn't about gratitude.
Do you see? This is going to be such a long video. Do you see? He's a little bitch that he probably had, a couple extra lemon drops. He had a couple lemon drops that had him feeling brave and froggy. And then you have the egomaniac over there that can't be outshined on the stupidity that you guys demand.
It was about power. They wanted Zelensky to grovel, and when he didn't, they escalated. Zelensky never folded. He said thank you, but not in the way they wanted. That's why Trump kept hammering him, insisting, you're not acting thankful. It was never about diplomacy or strategy. It was about dominance. Zelensky triggered them by challenging their worldview.
You guys remember people trying to bully you in high school and stuff like that? This is very much what that was. You had two people that bumped into each other in the hallway, and then you had the little bitch who pushes the one into the other to start the fight. You guys have been there. You guys have seen it. But I think all of this is on purpose.
Once that happened, they stopped pretending to negotiate and started trying to break him. Okay, well, now let me quickly ask what it thinks about those stupid questions about his suit. And here it is.
This shit.
The question about Zelensky's suit was a cheap distraction. Brian Glenn, a pro-Trump reporter, brought it up to make it seem like Zelensky was being disrespectful, when in reality his wartime attire has been a symbol of solidarity with Ukraine since the invasion began. Trump's team had already asked him to wear a suit, and he refused, which clearly irritated Trump. But focusing on clothing in a meeting about war and survival was ridiculous. It wasn't about respect, it was about trying...
So if it was someone from somewhere else, any nation in Africa, any nation in Asia, any nation who comes here who's wearing something that's acceptable in their land, what are they supposed to do? Wear these ugly ass suits?
Diminish Zelensky over something trivial. Zelensky, to his credit, didn't let it slide. He responded, "I'll buy a new suit after the war, maybe even better than yours, or maybe cheaper." That was a perfect comeback, calm, sharp, and showing he wasn't going to be bullied over nonsense.
Yeah, nobody has time for that. His nation is under attack.
All right, but I kind of want to ask about that whole being thankful thing. I mean, why do some people act like Zelensky isn't grateful enough? Let's even ask how many times he said thank you to the U.S. over the past 3 years. The whole Zelensky isn't thankful enough narrative is complete nonsense pushed by people who either want to humiliate him or have a political reason to downplay Ukraine's struggle. The idea that he needs to constantly grovel in front of the U.S. leaders to prove his gratitude is absurd. This isn't a man who just woke up one day and decided to be difficult. He's been thanking the U.S. hundreds of times, and it's all documented. The fact that someone like J.D. Vance demanded he say thank you like a scolding parent shows this was never about actual gratitude. It was about submission. They wanted Zelensky to bow down, not just express appreciation. If we're talking numbers, Zelensky has publicly thanked the U.S. hundreds of times in speeches, press conferences, interviews, and personal meetings with American officials. Just look at his 2022 speech to Congress, where he literally called U.S. aid crucial and thanked Americans for standing with Ukraine. Look at his 2023 White House visit, where he said the U.S. had been a pillar of support. Even after that heated February 28, 2025 meeting, when Trump and Vance tried to bully him, he still posted, "Thank you, America. Thank you for your support." How much more do they want? This "he's not grateful" nonsense only surfaces when certain politicians want an excuse to cut off support or pressure him into a deal that benefits them, not Ukraine. The reality is that Zelensky has said thank you hundreds of times. It's just that certain people don't actually care about hearing it. They care about power. Yeah, that's right. Just take a second and think about this. We're literally watching this happen in the White House. I mean, imagine FDR humiliating European leaders, telling them that they shouldn't say bad things about Hitler. That's the reality that we're living in. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if I saw a headline saying Trump is sending tanks to Russia now, would you?
For real.
All right, now I want to ask if ChatGPT thinks that Zelensky did everything right in this meeting. Maybe it noticed some mistakes. And how would it act in his shoes? And here's the answer.
Before he comes out with this, I think Zelensky, the only thing Zelensky did that was wrong was interact with, number one, the dum-dum that asked that dumb-ass question about the suit. They take pride. This group of people takes pride in being whatever that is. Brash, is it? Not a bully. Trump is a bully. This guy is kind of like a dumbass.
Zelensky was 100% right on the facts, no question. Everything he said about Russia.
And the other thing, like, I understand, like, when he went in on J.D. Vance, that's the other spot. But J.D. took control of the situation, and then Trump came in. So I don't think he was outnumbered. Zelensky was outnumbered. And you have these two guys here, they're again, they're bullies. I don't do bullies. I don't.
Past ceasefires, about Putin breaking arguments, it was all the truth. But here's the problem. Trump and Vance didn't want to hear it. They don't want the Russia as the aggressor narrative to persist in the media because it contradicts everything they are trying to sell. And
What is
Zelensky walked
going
right into
on?
that trap. The biggest
Yeah.
mistake? Zelensky pointed out something inconvenient. Russia was still an aggressor during Trump's presidency. Crimea was occupied. Eastern Ukraine was under.
And let's not forget that yeah, these guys are manipulating you. These guys are coming out with these bitcoins and all kinds of stuff, and everyone is losing their ass. And that's the president, the vice president, knucklehead, fucking, waterhead, what's his name? Elon. You guys, for real. They're tricking you into buying things. If they are so rich, why do they need your money? And this goes beyond them too. Why do you need to buy golden shoes to support this maniac? The same way, why do you guys buy anything from Kanye? He's got plenty of money. Why do you need to buy bitcoins and all that stuff? You got bills. You got bills. And let me tell you, you need to listen to this. The little bit of money that you have is cute. And I am proud of you for making that money. And I'm proud of you for buying that house. And I'm proud of you for buying the car. And even some of you have a boat. Some of you have a plane. All that stuff. All that stuff. But the money that these guys have is different. It's different. A little bit that you guys got makes you think that you're like them. You're not like them, and they not like us. you gotta understand all these people. If you were hanging out with people that were, molesting children, and if you were hanging out with people that were robbing people, and you were hanging out with people that you couldn't trust, because they were always on a scam. They were always trying to pitch you on some kind of pyramid scheme. You can't trust those people. You can't. You can't trust those people. They are trying to work you. You see it in the streets at a completely different level, but it's always the shell game where you have to pick which shell the P went under, it's always which card you need to pick. And these guys are legalizing all that silliness. And you guys think that you're going to hit it big or whatever the hell it is. But what happens when you don't? I don't care. I don't care if you're making your money and you're playing the lottery, you're doing all that shit. When you get old, what's going to happen if you didn't make it? You're going to be in the streets, and look at how they're treating the people that are in the streets right now. You guys need to pay attention to what's happening. We need a strong country with a lot of education. Not opinions. Not opinions. We need facts. Let's keep going. Here we go.
Idea that Putin only became aggressive after Biden took over. Zelensky publicly disproved this in real time, and there was no way in hell Trump was going to let that stand, especially on live TV. Another big mistake?
Clown.
Zelensky interrupted J.D. Vance first. He didn't let him finish whatever scripted talking points he was trying to push, and instead immediately turned the conversation to Russian aggression. That was true, of course.
Right. And the point that I was going to make earlier, Vance is up here talking silliness about you don't think and all this other stuff. Bitch, there are people dying right now. As we speak, there's bombs, there's drones, there's all kinds of shit happening. And it's because Putin busted down the door.
It gave Trump and Vance exactly what they needed to change the subject. The entire discussion shifted from facts to optics. Instead of dealing with reality,
no matter what.
They turned it into a conversation about gratitude, something vague and emotional that they could control. And from that point forward, the meeting was no longer about Ukraine. It was about humiliating Zelensky. And here's the brutal reality. Zelensky should have accepted that he was dealing with Trump. Like it or not, Trump was the one in power, and Ukraine was in no position to challenge him openly in front of the US media. This wasn't about fairness or truth, it was about survival, and the lives of Ukrainians were on the table. He could have made his real arguments behind closed doors, but in front of the press, he should have let Trump and Vance run the show. If I were in his position, I wouldn't have interrupted Vance. Let him talk. Let him say whatever he was going to say. Then when Trump stepped in,
And that's such the shitty point, though. Like, who is Vance? He ain't shit. They showed such little respect for this man and his position.
would have played to his ego as the deal maker. Something like, Mr. President, we trust your leadership to find the right solution. We know you can make a deal that is strong for America and fair for Ukraine. That's why we are here, to work with you. That's how you stay in control without making them defensive. That's how you keep the conversation about what Ukraine needs, not about how grateful Ukraine should be. Bottom line, Zelensky was right on the facts, but this wasn't the time or place.
I just made the realization. These white boys out here, boy, they don't like being told. You guys be careful. Because even though Zelensky is right, Zelensky's right. JD needed to be quiet. It's not a conversation with you right now, bitch.
Fight Trump head on. He should have let them talk, let them feel like they were in charge, and kept the door open for real negotiations later. That's the game, and in that meeting, he played it wrong. Got it. So ChatGPT thinks that Zelensky should have kept his emotions in check and just nodded along with whatever they said. I don't know, maybe, but let me know in the comments if you agree with ChatGPT or not. Now I'm going to ask how it would describe the whole meeting and whether Ukraine can survive without US support. So, how would ChatGPT describe that meeting? And here's the answer. That meeting was a disgrace for the United States. Ukraine isn't just an ally, it's a nation fighting to defend democracy against an authoritarian regime, and Trump and Vance knew that. They went in knowing Zelensky couldn't argue with them as an equal because his people depend on the US for weapons, funding, and intelligence. They used that imbalance to humiliate him, turning what should have been a serious discussion about war and security into a power trip. It wasn't about diplomacy or problem solving, it was about making Zelensky submit. The fact that they did this in front of cameras made it even worse. Instead of showing leadership, the US looked small, unreliable, and indifferent to the stakes. The world saw an administration more interested in forcing a desperate ally into a corner than dealing with the actual threat, Russia. And this isn't just about one meeting. The entire world is shifting live. European leaders are already standing behind Zelensky, recognizing exactly what this moment represents.
This is where it gets dangerous. Right here. Pay attention. We're out here with our ass all the way out. Not all the way, but we're starting to be out here by ourselves. Why? I know a lot of you guys on the right are saying, oh, because of corruption and all this stuff. But yet, the dude that you guys nominated to get rid of the corruption has meme coins. His wife has meme coins, and it being like a pyramid scheme. I don't fully understand why people let themselves be taken advantage of by people like this. Even when people are telling you, hey, like, why are you sending this rich dude money? He's rich. And now he's putting a large strain on you. These prices are going to be bananas. Pun not even close to being intended. I don't know how we are going to get back to this. Actually, I do. We're going to weather this storm. From here on out, my vote is going to be towards whomever is going to make the government more efficient, and that includes investing in technology to make things a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. Not the Elon way, like actually taking a look and seeing how we can make our workers more efficient. I would start fixing the education system. So then all of the money that we find, like Elon is saying that we're finding all this money, all that shit would go towards education. I'm not fully against what Elon is doing. I'm against how he's doing it, but I would have started at the Defense Department because they're notorious for losing money. I'd go through all their fine-tooth comb that. And all that money that gets taken off of there would go to education, would go to teaching you guys how, I don't know, computers work and how to do research so you're not getting tricked. And this goes for everybody. Everyone's going to get all, I'm talking everybody. You need to make up your mind how you want to live your life. And if banning books and restricting education is your answer, then you can't be in charge. Sorry. We need to fix education so then everyone is at a certain thinking level so we can make better decisions as a nation. Because this silly shit that we're fighting and people are getting tricked into stuff, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. We need to educate our population. It's going to fix so many problems. And then the problems that are left, we will then take all of those very smart people and apply them to the problems that exist. That way, we don't have to go outside of our country to get qualified help, just like Elon and that other dum-dum said, you guys are too dumb and too lazy to work or to have a proper job, a job that makes good amount of money. And you guys like that shit. You guys are in for that. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What am I missing?
This isn't just a dispute between two leaders. It's a clear sign that America under Trump is abandoning its role as a global leader. They know that if Ukraine falls, the next crisis might land at their doorstep with no U.S. support left to count on. Meanwhile, Russia is openly cheering Trump on. Russian state media spinning the meeting as a defeat for Zelensky and a victory for Putin.
From what I understand,
this isn't
Putin
just
wants
about
all
Ukraine
his shit back.
anymore. It's about the West showing weakness while an adversary watches and gains confidence. What happened in that room didn't just damage U.S.-Ukraine relations. It signaled to the world that alliances, once considered unbreakable, are now starting to fracture.
It's wild to see.
Yeah, that was a total catastrophe. Okay, got it. And for the last question, how does ChatGPT see the situation playing out? And can Ukraine actually survive without the U.S.? Ukraine surviving without the U.S. is highly unlikely. It's not just about losing American weapons, intelligence, and funding. It's about what Trump will do for Russia. If Trump lifts sanctions, starts doing business with Moscow, and allows Russia to stay in this war for another decade, Ukraine's chances shrink even further. Russia, with its massive population and economy reconnected to the world, can keep grinding forward. Meanwhile, Ukraine isn't just short on weapons, it's running out of manpower. Europe supports Ukraine, but when it comes to sending troops, that will never happen. That would trigger a direct NATO-Russia war, something no Western leader is willing to risk, and no amount of financial aid will matter if Ukraine doesn't have enough soldiers to hold the lines. That's the gap no ally can fill. Under Trump, Zelensky will have no good options. The reality is that he will likely have to sign whatever the U.S. puts in front of him, even without security guarantees.
He's actually talking to European leaders, and they're trying to all figure out a way to navigate this. We'll see how it plays out.
Because the alternative is worse. If Ukraine refuses, the war doesn't just continue, it gets harder. This kind of deal wouldn't end the war, it would likely only delay a bigger one, but there's still a small chance that Russia won't expand further. If Ukraine takes a bad deal, it might buy itself time. If it refuses, it risks being slowly bled out while Russia rebuilds for an even bigger offensive. The choices aren't fair, but this is the reality Trump is creating.
So that's what ChatGPT has to say. I don't know. I honestly, I don't see what you guys see in this guy. I really don't. I tried to research, I tried to ask, I tried to do all the things. All I ever get is we need to break shit. And there's a way of doing it. I understand what you guys are saying. I understand it. I don't think a strong man is not the way. This is not the way. People that that act like this. Imagine one of your family members invites me over for Thanksgiving, and I show up and I start acting a fool, and I start, I don't know, talking about how dry the turkey is, and because I brought the mashed potatoes that were great, you didn't thank me enough, whatever the case may be. If I was acting like this in public, you guys would call security. You guys would call the cops. Karens around the globe would call the cops if I acted like this. But you guys are letting the president of the United States get away with this because you guys want blood. You guys want dramatic TV. And that's what taxes are. Taxes are my Netflix membership fee to the best TV I have, the best reality show I have ever seen. That's what we have. We are officially there. You guys have apprenticed all over this country. God damn. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with each and every one of your friends. And if you want to come hang out with me and watch videos while I work on creative projects, hit that subscribe button. Then change the little bell icon to say all. That way, every time I come out with something new, you'll be alerted. Don't forget to go to coconutjustice.com to get you some dope gear. And with that, I'm out.
Coconut Justice.